Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Sweetbats, and this video is one of 2 dolls I made as part of the Angels and Demons doll collab, hosted by Splendid Miscellany on Instagram. Please be sure to check out all the other dolls made by my talented collab partners. As you can see from the group photo, there's dozens of us, so I can't name everyone. But check out the hashtag AngelsDemonsCollab24 on Instagram to see everyone's work. I picked Jane Boolittle as a base, and as you can see, this one is heavily stained. I picked up this paint and tested it over the staining and found it was a pretty close match, so later I'll thin it down and airbrush the whole doll with it. The prep is the same as usual. Cut the hair, scrape the plugs from the inside, remove the hair bits from inside the head, and wipe the factory paint off with acetone. This seems like as good a time as any to talk about what I'm actually making. Both of the dolls I made were projects I was working on before the collab even existed, and it was a happy coincidence that they both were demons. This one is the half-demon Nono from the wonderful Punch Punch Forever by the extremely talented Speederoo. I've linked the video below. Please be sure to watch it. One of my best friends sent it to me shortly after it was uploaded, and I was dying laughing at it, and I cannot wait for more. It's great goofy fun, the animation is spectacular, and you can tell there was a lot of heart put into it. Please go support it.
Hey, future Sweetbats popping in to say that Speederoo recently announced episode 2 coming out in April or May, so this is really good timing. Again, please go watch and support this wonderful project. Thanks, and now back to the doll.
Now that the main prep work is done, it's time to modify her ears. One of the first dolls on my channel was a Claudine wolf that didn't need her ears, and now they're being repurposed for Nono's demon ears. I cut off the human ears, then go through the ordeal of attaching her new ears. After reshaping and filling the ears out with epoxy sculpt, I tried inserting a pin and air dry clay to stab them into the head, but this didn't work, so I switched to hot glue later. I then try to seamlessly blend them to the head with epoxy sculpt, and I make her some magnetic horns at this time. I ended up not being happy with the ear position and made them a bit more upturned, then filled in some of the space with hot glue, as to use less epoxy for the second time around. Once everything is set, I pop off the horns and sand the ears and horns to smooth them out as much as I can. I still need work on this, but thankfully the hair will cover the worst of it. Off screen, I glued magnets to her head for the horns and made a wig cap with the horn positions marked, then airbrushed the head and body to this uniform purple color. Thankfully, the shades are close enough that the inevitable scraping at the joints is not super visible. I also drilled a hole into her back for her tail and stuffed this with aluminum foil. I wanted the tail to attach magnetically and wanted this magnet flush with the body, so once I have enough foil in, I use Gorilla Glue to secure a magnet in place. I apparently lost the footage for the making of the tail, but it was just a tube of epoxy sculpt and the shaped end of the tail put together and bent into the position I wanted. With some leftover epoxy, I rolled up 2 balls to make her earrings and paint these with red gouache after they harden. I ended up stripping this off later and using airbrush paint to get an even coat, then sealed it with UV polish and a black light to make them super shiny. I give her a quick manicure with black paint. Jane has lovely molded nails, so thankfully I don't need to do any more modifications. I made a bunch of short wefts with acrylic yarn and glued these to the wig cap in the marked areas. For the hair around the horn location, I carefully glue this around it in the opposite direction, and once dry, brush it down. This gets trimmed and styled off screen. Unfortunately, I started this doll before I made changes to my setup and tools, so at the time I didn't have an easy way to work on hair on screen, but hopefully will work well for future videos. I also looked at my reference images for the first time in a while and realized that the horns were completely wrong. So these were also redone and painted off screen, and more wefts were glued around the new horn positions. Finally, it's time to start the face up. I decided to go closer to the canonical art style rather than making her in my own style, and that was a bit of a challenge in its own way. For the face shimmer, I used this Pearl-X powder in Misty Lavender, but was a bit disappointed as it didn't seem to be super shiny in person. I'm glad it ended up looking nice on camera after a while. Usually I only use paint for the eyelashes and catch lights, but I ended up using paint all over since I wasn't getting the color or vibrancy I wanted with pastels or pencils. I didn't like the lips, so I wiped off this paint and tried again, and was much happier this time around. Once I'm happy, I gloss the eyes and lips, then blush the body and work on clothing. I had initially decided against a chest modification, but as the doll progressed and as I struggled to make a bandeau that looked good on the doll, I couldn't ignore they would look better with one. I add some blobs of epoxy or chest and mold them to the sculpt, and once they've dried, I paint these and add pastels. I draft up a jacket pattern, trying to match the character's outfit as much as possible. I glue ribbon to the sides to make it look like a tracksuit, and use stretchy fabric at the sleeves and waist for a fitted cuff look. The same is done for the pants. Thankfully, this pattern was much more simple. For her shoes, I use these Frankie Stein I Heart Shoes wedge sneakers, paint these white, then add details in red. The right shoe is split near the toe, so I use Gorilla Glue to mend this and hope that it holds when it's time to put it on the doll. Once I glue on the earrings, it's time to put her all together. Unfortunately, I encountered some issues with assembly of all things. Her tail broke at the end, and I had to use Gorilla Glue to put it back together. Also, I didn't hope hard enough, and the shoe split while putting it on. I'm not surprised, but since I am in a bit of a time crunch with the collab deadline and my move, I'm leaving this as is for now, and will order a replacement and remake this shoe later. I also realized after I took all her photos and as in editing this video that I forgot to add the small mark under her eye. I'll fix that after the move as well as the shoes. Regardless, I had a ton of fun making her, and I hope you enjoyed watching her creation. If you haven't already seen Punch Punch Forever, I hope this motivates you to go watch it and you love it as much as I did. A big thank you to Splendid Miscellany for hosting this collab. And please be sure to go check out everyone's work. You can find them under the Instagram hashtag AngelsDemonsCollab24. I made 2 dolls for this, so please be sure to check out my other contribution to the collab on my channel. I'm going to need some time to settle into the new place before jumping back into dolls, but I can't wait to bring more creations to life as soon as I'm able. I want to thank you all for your continued support, and a big thank you and shout out to my patrons, Bear, Crash MD, and Hun. I'll see you all next time. Take care.